if Sam Darnold was a Hall of Famer after week 1, surely Patrick Mahomes after week 2
God
is a HOFer.
They got a statue already outside of Arrowhead because they're about to go do their first home game.
Right.
And Patty Mahomes has a statue coming out
It's been
week 1
erected?
home. His first home game. They're going to unveil the statue.
What is
for
it? Paper mache? How'd they do that so quick?
They are good. It's called technology.
Technology.
It's probably 3D
Lasers.
3D printer.
3D
Exactly.
printer.
3D printer.
What do we have for him, Johnny? That's the winner.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Well,
You can 3D print a new heart.
That's pretty crazy.
I could be wrong on
Let's
this,
not get
but
too far away from the point here.
I thought
Patrick Mahomes gets our undivided attention.
It's not true.
I thought the rating system went up to one. I thought it was 153.8, and he was 154.8 last week. Did he break it? Did they have to add a number?
It's
for him?
158, isn't it?
No, he got a 154.8 rating for the game,
QBR.
but QB rating, the old school rating. But I thought that it was 153.8 was the max, and we
Yeah.
just gave him another. They were like, you know what? Give him another tick.
Give him one more.
154.
You get that
He's in
6
the Hall of
touchdown.
Fame. He's
I
got
could
a
have
statue.
sworn it was 153.8. Is it 154? I'm pretty sure it was 153.
You can Google it. It's worth a Google.
He broke the system.
Well,
23 out of 28 for 6 touchdowns.
I think old Jason was probably the only one who was maybe marginally in on Patrick Mahomes. I just was a lot of uncertainty and a lot of hype around him. So I admittedly have missed out on all the Patrick Mahomes, as I miss out on most quarterbacks.
Just because I was
Anyway.
excited about him doesn't mean I didn't miss out on him too, because he's way too expensive in any type of format.
Well, Patrick Mahomes is the talk. James Conner was the talk of the town last week in Dynasty, and now going in 2 weeks. I mean,
Well,
obviously,
it didn't hurt that Mahomes
obviously-
already had rumbles. Maybe he wasn't quite the talk, but he was already kind of.
he 4 touchdowns and Tyreek Hill and everything they did last week. Patrick Mahomes was here. But then he got the statue out front of Kansas City, Arrowhead.
So that's a real thing? You didn't make that up?
No, I'm making that up as we speak.
We really had him going.
I got him.
They really made it a 3D
No.
paper mache.
So
print of-
with the 6 touchdowns, like he's not only here, he's already been here. He's done that. He's like you said, he's got. They're making his gold jacket. They're checking his
Checking
arm
his
length. They're
seams, arm lengths,
He's getting
shoulders.
fitted this week. And what the biggest thing is, I wanted to make sure we talked about this first, is because I know that everybody else is talking about Patrick Mahomes, and it's not. I think that you'll see us go this season and try to talk about people that everybody else isn't, so you can have something else to listen to when in the season everybody's kind of.
That's not going to work this episode.
Right.
But.
No. Well, but in the
Yeah.
season, everybody kind of talks about the same stuff, and I get that. So we're going to try our best to talk about different ways to help you with your dynasty team in season, but we have to talk about
not
Patrick
today.
Mahomes because we were. I don't think it was that bad. Casey just said that even Jason was the only one that was marginally in. It wasn't that we weren't marginally in. It was just like to me, everybody was talking in the offseason about how great Patrick Mahomes looked in that Week 17 game last year, and I watched it twice, and I'm like, I mean, he was okay,
Right.
But I mean, he wasn't like he wasn't like MVP Brett Favre like everybody was. It was an okay outing, and I get it. It was his first start, but it was Week 17 against a team that didn't care, and I'm like, how are everybody jumping to conclusions on that one start?
For sure.
He didn't throw it 4 picks. I'll give you that, but. So I was like, all right, we said this months ago with all of the weapons that the Chiefs were bringing to the table and Andy Reid, there was no way he wasn't going to be getting fantasy production, even if he was bad for the team, as in like picks and turning the ball over. But
his life is so easy.
There's no chance that I wouldn't have predicted half of this. Through 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, nobody, even if you loved him, nobody was predicted half of this.
I told you.
But
I told you 10 touchdowns in 2 weeks.
10 touchdowns in 2 weeks. I'm just saying, like, it's not even like highly efficient touchdown. Like 23 out of 28, 326 yards. Like I was saying, he just broke the quarterback rating. They gave him an extra point.
There's nothing you can really do about it. Andy Reid's
he's reaching his scheming prime.
A veteran coach.
His mental prime as a coach.
Knows his X's and O's and knows how to scheme things around, and now he's got weapons everywhere.
Throw Sammy in there.
Weapons everywhere.
One of the best tight ends in the league.
Them boys are basically doing what you and I would do in a draft and punt on quarterbacks or tight ends, and they just punted on a defense in their draft, and they were just like, we're just going to try to score 50 every game.
Right. which has created this perfect storm for Patrick Mahomes because their defense has given up points. Granted, they played the Steelers last week, and that's what they do. It's very similar. They're just not quite as good at it as it seems Kansas City is. But, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, they're just, no matter what defense the Steelers were throwing at him, whether it was a zone or man, they were beating him. You can't guard Tyreek Hill by himself. You can't guard Sammy Watkins. He's coming into his own. He looked phenomenal out there before and after the catch. It's just whatever. The worst play they had was like 5-yard gains.
Right.
Like they didn't even need third down in this game. You could have just given them like 3 total downs. You punt on third down if you get to it. Like for real, it was just so easy for them, and it just looked so smooth and simple. It just looked like they were playing with them.
Playing checkers well, or they were playing chess well.
Right.
People were playing checkers. So basically what I was saying was that Jay Wayne being the only one that was marginally in is, if you go back to last year, Jay Wayne did kind of like Patrick Mahomes some, and like you and I are almost never going to pay for a quarterback, and Jay Wayne will pay for a quarterback. So
Jay
like,
Wayne's a quarterback guy.
And that's why he was more, and I just, again, to piggyback off what you were saying, like there's the one game and everyone was already saying how good he was going to be, and I just wasn't 100% sure what was going to be, so there's no way I was paying the price. And I already don't pay the price, so there's no way I'm paying the price for that.
Right. I don't have Patrick Mahomes anywhere because I couldn't pay the price either, but I was always like sad to see him go to someone else's team, and like, dang it, why'd you have to reach for a quarterback right there? I could have got him later maybe.
So well, and Jim, to talk about the price for a second, I just got done with a $500 startup a month ago now, and I look back at the draft board and he went in the 11th round. So it's like, obviously he could have gone in the second round and it would have been worth it at this point, but it's just like, all right, 11th round, that wasn't terrible.
No, that wasn't bad, but I mean, when in the auctions that we did, he usually went for a reasonable amount of money. And I've seen him go higher than
No, me too. But that was one of those things. It's like everybody in that draft, outside of the Aaron Rodgers pick, you could tell that late round quarterback had been hammered. It was a late startup. It just barely finished before week 1 kind of thing, and so late round quarterback had been hammered through the system enough to where everybody had punted their way out. And of course, I do my thing and take Andy Dalton
that Mahomes
in the last
guy,
round.
If he put together any semblance of a first half of that draft,
he's hard to beat right now.
Kicking wieners.
Exactly. Well, the touchdowns were spread around in this game, but you can see the targets. I mean, it's Kelsey, Watkins, and Tyreek Hill. And, cry your heart out for Kareem Hunt. Thank God he took that catch and got in the end zone with it. But,
still had 70-something yards rushing.
No, I'm just saying as far as the 6 touchdowns were obviously that number pops off the screen, but like 320 yards isn't incredible these days anymore. It's just that he did it on 23 completions and only 28 attempts, which is just nasty. So for fantasy football, like it's just it's so good for the players that are with him, obviously, but when you get, it's like that Pittsburgh offense, when you get, the Antonio Browns and the Le'Veon Bells, obviously in the last couple of years, he's not there right now, but those types of guys are just getting all the targets and all the run. You got Kelsey, and who's a mismatch, like, just going through the weapons there. Kelsey and Watkins and Tyreek Hill all out there at the same time, plus Kareem Hunt, and you got this guy throwing lasers, highly accurate lasers, mind you. Then what? The defense can't do anything about it, and it's just adding up for major fantasy points for you. So this is just one of those things that are riding this wave for the rest of the season, right? Just hope you continue to catch this lightning in a bottle.
Well, yeah. On a side note, I mean, to talk about all those targets and to see Kareem Hunt or really any running back not get targeted is a little bit of a bummer for you. You were hoping, they were big talks about getting the running back more targets in this offense, especially Kareem Hunt's name was brought up a lot.
Sure.
Being used in the more so.
By Andy Reid.
Well, exactly. Well, he had 50 catches last year, and Andy Reid said, I'm going to get him more involved.
So, right. I mean, it hasn't been that way to start.
Has 1 catch through 2 games.
But, I mean, then you look at the bottom of this thing, and Robinson's got, 1 target for 3 yards and a touchdown. Connolly's got 2 targets, 2 catches, a touchdown. Like
exactly.
So it's what's the amazing about what Patrick Mahomes is doing, and yes, a credit to Andy Reid. They let him sit for a year behind a guy who was
a pros pro,
knew how to run this system, and let his guy develop. Then showed Alex Smith the door essentially. But what's I think you already pointed to it is the efficiency of what Mahomes has been doing has been outstanding. I think in the first game he completed 15 balls. This game he completed 23 of 28 attempts. You got Roethlisberger on the other side. Now, obviously, he was down 21-0 in a hurry, but I mean, he's got 60 attempts.
Exactly.
And they lost.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he was trailing the whole game, and he's doing everything he can to get back. So it's tough to have a running game at that point.
So let's if you're okay with this, let's move into the do you sell at an all-time high Patrick Mahomes question, because actually a couple years ago, Ben Roethlisberger had a 2-game streak where he was 5 touchdowns in a row, and then different quarterbacks at different times. There's been little bubbles. Ryan Fitzpatrick's in a bubble right now.
Yeah,
like this bubble is not sustained. There's no obviously. If you've been on Twitter or anything like that, like you've probably seen it and you probably cracked up and laughed. And like Patrick Mahomes is on pace for 80 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. I mean, that's
I love those on pace.
Those, but it's awesome and it's hilarious and it's funny. But like do you in a dynasty league, do you enjoy these massive amounts of points from Patrick Mahomes, or do you take basically any other quarterback that you can plug in there for 20-something points a week? Do you keep? I mean, obviously he's not going to score 40 every week, but if at a minimum, this offense is just, it's hard to until
like
injuries start taking away some of these pieces. How can you defend them? So why can't you assume that Patrick Mahomes is going to be better than every other quarterback every single week?
Well, in redraft, I mean, you hold Mahomes and
you try to get
the championship. And maybe you do the same in Dynasty. I mean, I think you're going to be hard pressed to see games where the Chiefs don't score, 30 points, and that'll probably, like I would imagine,
give up 30 points.
Well, yeah, and they're going to have to score because I don't think they really have much of a defense. It's whether
that can't be undersold.
If the offensive line can hold up and be decent, and they can stay lucky and be healthy. I mean, there's no reason that I don't think Patrick Mahomes and this offense, like I said, will score 30 points a game. Personally, I mean, I would send some stuff out for Patrick Mahomes to see if somebody else wants him more than I do, because I don't really care one way or the other. Obviously, he could take you to a dynasty championship just like this year, just like if, in the middle of the season you had Deshaun Watson last year and he was doing similar things.
Right.
Me personally, I might try to get rid of him. Like right now, Deshaun Watson's in a little bit of a lull. He's definitely not as the talk of the town, like everybody was rushing out and spending probably the most on any quarterback in auction drafts.
Well, let's just. So, you say get rid of him, but you mean like you would move him for a king's ransom?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'm not gonna.
You say get rid of him, like toss him out with the backyard trash. Like obviously, you mean you would move him for a ridiculous sum.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah. Jay Wayne.
That's where I was going with the Deshaun Watson thing. Like you could have sold him for whatever you wanted in this offseason because he had that stretch of games and it was awesome, and that's your last memory. And he's hasn't been fantastic. He's still been very startable and probably better than people are giving him credit for fantasy wise anyway.
Right. The fantasy stat lines for Deshaun aren't as bad as what it looks like on the field.
But you could have sold him for whatever you wanted. He was carrying your team in spots last year. Mahomes, obviously, in these first couple of weeks, I'm sure every Patrick Mahomes team probably won.
Yeah. I think people that have Patrick Mahomes.
So yes, a king's ransom is obviously like I'm not just going to give away.
Well, I'm not ripping you. I'm just saying you're kind of like, oh well.
We wanted to hear the words king's ransom.
Yeah.
Needed to hear those words.
Needed to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's implied.
It was implied.
I'm not going to trade.
I think the people that spent a bunch of money to get Patrick Mahomes on their team and now they're reaping these benefits immediately, I think they're going to hear you say maybe they should trade him and balk at that and be like, what are you talking about? Why would I ever trade Patrick Mahomes?
I mean, I don't care. I'll keep him.
Before we get too far away from it, Deshaun Watson he has the 19th most quarterback points. But it's only 4 away from being top 12.
Sure.
6 more, one more touchdown or something like that. One more touchdown and a scramble, and he's top 12.
The offensive line is pretty bad. Pro Football Focus has him ranked as the second worst offensive line in the league through 2 weeks.
The Texans' offensive line.
But go in that direction, he's 4 points better than Sam Darnold. So if I can say, well, one more touchdown, he's top 12. One less touchdown, and Sam Darnold's better. So just like Casey's saying, Deshaun Watson was the best thing to ever happen to fantasy football for 6 weeks last year. And obviously the injury took him out of there. And that's what I kind of meant by sometimes you just get on those, sometimes magical seasons happen. So you never know. You don't know how long. We know for a fact that you're not going to get, that Patrick Mahomes is not going to throw for 80 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I don't think the streak's going to end
with those types of weapons and the ridiculousness that is Patrick Mahomes right now. Because again, I was the one saying he's a one-start rookie, and there's no chance that he's not going to have rust, and he's not going to step in there and be as good as Alex Smith was after running that system for 5 years, and he's stepped in there and been twice as good as Alex Smith. So there's no chance he's going to continue this pace, but it looks like it'd be hard to make a good argument that he's not going to be a top 2 or 3 quarterback for the rest of the year.
I mean, you would like to think, but I mean, like you said, things happen. He could all of a sudden 6-8 games into the season, he could be looking like he's a little green all of a sudden.
And
for whatever reason, people start kind of figuring out what's going on a little bit. Right now, it hasn't been very hard on him. Like, it's been pretty easy to do what he's doing. And obviously, you would expect that to continue on some level. But as things go forward, if people start to, it's just like when you see a pitcher for the first time, and he's lighting everybody up. Well, by the second, third time through the rotation, they figured you out. I'm not saying that that's the case, but what I'm saying is that you could get a ton for this guy right now. And if there is any other any position that is the most replaceable, it's quarterback
in fantasy.
But there's certainly an advantage to having the guy who's the top 1 or 2 quarterbacks in the league. Like when Cam Newton's crushing, Cam Newton will help you win a fantasy championship.
Exactly.
Well, for fear of...
but we've seen that go all over the place. Like Cam's awesome, and then he's killing you.
Yeah.
Next year,
Right.
So for fear of bringing the sell Todd Gurley because the schedule gets hard narrative up, looking at Patrick Mahomes' upcoming schedule, so he's got the Niners in week 3.
Right, and I was going to say, I don't see the streak really ending against the 49ers. I think they have a decent defense, but, I mean, he's at home. First game, was it?
Statues going up.
Is this his first game at Arrowhead, or was it first game at Arrowhead?
No, it's his first game home.
On the road.
So I don't see it ending against the Niners. I mean,
but then in week 4, he's at the Broncos. In week 5, they're at home again versus the Jags. So those are 2 brutal matchups for him. Then they're at Foxborough to play the Patriots, home versus the Bengals, home versus the Broncos, at the Browns, Cardinals, Rams, Ravens, Seahawks, at the Seahawks. So it gets tougher, and there's a tough little stretch.
Those next 2 after that week 4 and 5, that's
Broncos
and
Jaguars.
Those are your makers right there. Like
and what the crazy thing is like, again, he doesn't have to be super awesome. Like Tyreek Hill is awesome, and he can get the ball to him from anywhere on the field.
Anywhere. So from farther away from Tyreek Hill than
he doesn't even have to have this great game to be still you're giving you 20 points in your fantasy lineup because he hit Tyreek Hill from one side of the field to the other side of the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Sammy Watkins or Kelsey. Like, there's just so much going on that and they're all good.
And that may be why it's unstoppable, because on a normal team like right now, Gronk is outside of Jalen Ramsey. Gronk's unstoppable. If you play anybody other than Jalen Ramsey, Tom Brady makes Gronk unstoppable. Gronk makes Tom Brady unstoppable. All that fun stuff. But then you add in, and they're bringing in Josh Gordon to bring in something else because they don't have anything else. Like, you bring it Tyreek Hill on any team by himself, he's unstoppable. And you got the mismatch nightmare tight end. You got the mismatch nightmare. We've never seen anything like Tyreek Hill. And now and Sammy Watkins was a top 5 pick.
He's still a guy who possesses 4.3 speed. Like, he's a fast guy who we saw what he could do last week after the catch with the ball in his hands, getting down the sideline. Kareem Hunt's a factor in his own right. And, I mean, Connolly is super fast. Like, this is just a really fast offense. Like, Connolly coming in off the bench is a spark guy. Like, he's really fast. They have
super spark guy.
They have
and Robinson. They like Robinson a ton.
And they have the speedy guy from Oregon.
D'Anthony Thomas.
There's just a ton of speed. This is the NASCAR
What are you, a
package.
Mamba or something like that?
Yeah.
He's a Mamba guy. The boys named him like some type of poisonous snake. But yes, those next 2 games, Jay Wayne, that 4 and 5
after this week
at the Broncos and then home against the Jags. Obviously the Jags is probably the best defense in the NFL. You got the Vikings and the Rams that say, "Hey, what the heck's going on over here?" When you talk like that, but and then you got the Broncos, who are pretty dang decent themselves against, especially a pass rush, and some good corners. So the next 2 out of 3 weeks, that'll be fun. I mean, that'll be fun to see this juggernaut go up against. That'll be like the old unstoppable force versus the immovable object type thing.
Water versus fire.
It'll be a good time. So
strength versus strength. Yeah, that'll definitely show us what he's made of. It's going to be tough. They haven't faced a ton of pressure. They played the Chargers in week 1 with no Bosa. Ingram was getting after him, but I mean, it's totally different when Bosa's in there. So I'd be holding Patrick if you want to go get a king's ransom for it. Hit us up.
And the Chargers are down a couple of cover corners.
I like where you were going there, Jay Wayne. If you're not if you're a Patreon member, shoot us an email with some type of trade offer that you got going on. Don't send Patrick Mahomes in a trade unless it is a ridiculous amount if that person hits accept.
Right.
As the guy, me and Casey been cheerleaders for years. I go back to John Kitna and them. I've been late round QB before it got popular. I'm the guy. I throw cold water at quarterbacks. But I'm not selling Patrick Mahomes unless it is a truly king's ransom. So if you're not a Patreon member anyway, go ahead and give us that $5 holler. If you're into Pat Mahomes sweepstakes, one way or another, buying or selling, get in there and shoot some emails to us. And as the guy that says, I'll sell, if you'll give me anything for a quarterback, I'll go find another one, I'm going to have a hard time letting go of Patrick Mahomes. Mm-hmm. So hit us up on the $5 holler. Go to Patreon, find us out over there, and let's try to help you do some business.
Yeah, you can find us at our website, theFFDynasty.com, or go to patreon.com/theFFDynasty, and you can have all kind of personal interaction with us that you'd like. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break here. We beat Patrick Mahomes to death. We'll come back, talk a little bit of
Steelers?
Other side of that ball? All right. We'll be back. More Married to the Game.